Good afternoon. Thank you all. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group. I know we just got back from lunch and supposed to have a good My wife doesn't usually let me dress myself because I can't match. And I said, okay, I got these gray pants and a white shirt and a black jacket. How's that look? And she's like, you need some color. I said, I got a colorful personality. And then she looked in my closet and handed me this tie. So you can think what she thinks of my personality. All right, let's see if I can move stuff forward. Hey, there we go. So Harris County Flood Control. Harris County is 23 separate and distinct watersheds throughout the county. Of course, we're a coastal Texas county. We are prone to extreme rainfall, climate change, flat landscape, clay soils in a lot of the county, so we do have a lot of flooding issues. We also are a county that developed a vast majority of the county prior to a magic date of about 1986, which is where we first started implementing really good drainage standards. So we have a lot of areas of the county that have challenges. We have about 800 miles of our channel network, which is natural channels, untouched, and we have a total of about 2,500 miles of our channel network. When I first got there and I started approving a bunch of mowing grass invoices, it was how much money we spend on mowing. We drive in tractors from LA to New York 3 times a year. We were started in 1937, Texas legislature, with the purpose of being the non-federal sponsor for the Corps of Engineers on the Addicks and Barker Reservoirs project. We were really set for the 1929-1935 floods. As I said, we're the non-federal sponsor, and our governing body is the Harris. Show our mission, flood damage reduction projects at work, and we do of our community and natural look at nature-based solutions initiatives is something that we've been really focusing on in the last 5 to 10 years. Very simple. We plan what we're going to do, we design the projects, we implement those projects, and then we have to maintain those projects. That was an easy slide. This is kind of a project delivery process. I know you can't read a lot of this, but what it does mean is our project life cycle on an average project is about a 3 up to a 5-year period, from taking it from a watershed study or a planning study all the way through implementation and turn over to infrastructure for maintenance. We also have a very complex jurisdiction. On the right side of the screen, you see a major channel. These are the Brays Bayous, the Buffalo Bayous, the White Oak Bayous. These are our major drainage channels. Those are usually Harris County flood control jurisdiction. On the left side of the screen is more of the neighborhood drainage system, the storm sewers, the street system, and in the middle is often a gray area, a shared jurisdiction. It might be a detention facility that we built and constructed. It might be one that another agency built or constructed and we maintain, or it might be a private detention facility. So we have a lot of issues with who owns the raindrop when it falls. So, flood damage reduction tools. What you would expect. We do a lot of channel modifications. Normally, those channel modifications require offsetting stormwater detention to avoid a downstream impact. We are very serious about being a no induced damages agency. We do not allow a water surface elevation increase downstream of our projects on that. We also We also have a lot of bridge alignments and bridge adjustments on that. And as I said, we've been moving more and more into nature-based solutions. And everything that we do is driven by property acquisitions. There have been about a 17% increase in property costs in Harris County and property values. And we are seeing that as it being reflected in the cost of us implementing our projects. And so we are looking ahead to more innovative solutions. What you see on the screen is our proposed tunnel alignment. We did a phase 1 study, which took a look at can we construct tunnels in the geological conditions of Harris County, and if so, can they move enough water to make a difference? Then we did a phase 2 study, which said where should we construct these tunnels? And when I talk about tunnels, I'm talking about 35 to 50 feet in diameter, 80 to 120 feet underground, and a total of about 133 miles of tunnels that are on the drawing boards. With these tunnels, we're going to move into what's called a Section 203 study, which I know a lot of the Corps people in here are very, very familiar with on that. But we have just got approval from the Assistant Secretary of the Army for a Section 203 study. We're meeting with their office next week, and then we're meeting again with the local SWG to start talking about the scope and scale of this Section 203 study. We actually hope to have a request for qualifications out on the street right after Labor Day. We'll be selecting a program manager and an H&H team for this Section 203 study. But this is continuing that transformational flood risk reduction. We've been in business for 85 years as an agency, give or take. And we've been incrementalizing our way to flood risk reduction. Building a detention pond here, building channel conveyance improvements there. And we are looking at the possibility of using tunnels to do a transformational flood risk reduction and really allow us to get ahead of the curve. We're talking about a 3 to 4 year process with a goal of WRDA 2028 of hopefully getting something in that legislation. Another major initiative that we are working on is Housing and Urban Development CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funding. We were approached by the General Land Office of the state of Texas recently in March of this year, and they said, hey, there's about $322 million of unspent housing funds that will not be spent, and they will go back to the federal government if we don't transition that to another source of drainage reduction. So we have until March 31st of 2026 to spend $322 million of housing funds, or they go back to the federal government. And we will be spending this on, it's been already approved in the action plan amendment, but we'll be spending it on stormwater detention basins, channel improvements, floodplain preservation type projects. We also have another $502 million that was awarded to Harris County that will be changed to a direct allocation to flood control with a deadline of March 31st of 2027. So if you add the numbers up, $825 million of, I'm going to call it new money, but it's money that's on top of our existing bond program and on top of our efforts that we're getting ready to do. For the engineers in the room, we will be holding an industry day for engineers and contractors to explain the projects that we have coming out, give you a list of the requests for qualifications and the proposed date for those requests for qualifications and the proposed bid dates for all these projects. And that will be September 7th, 2 to 4 p.m. We'll be sending out a notice on our website through all the trade organizations, and we encourage participation because we have a short amount of time to do a tremendous amount of work. And if we don't complete a project in those time frames, they don't just not reimbursement for what we don't complete, but they take all the money back from that project. So it's a big challenge. You can see our cost projections on our cash flow on this. We actually hoping to get a couple extensions on the MID program, but we do not see the possibility of getting extensions on the DR program on that. So we're going to be spending a lot of money, particularly in the 2025, 2026 timeframe, when a lot of the DR projects go to construction. We also have tremendous partnerships with the federal government. We work particularly closely with SWG here in Galveston. We have an Addicks and Barker desilt packages that we're currently actively working on. You can see the locations on these two maps, but these are the numbers. We will be desilting about 37 miles of channels. Well, we have completed about 37 miles of channels. They began in spring of 2019, and we've moved about 73,000 dump truck loads of dirt. We have 2 more packages upcoming for another $16 million worth of desilting. This is all through the partnership with the federal government and SWG. Another major project that we completed about a year ago, and I know Colonel Vail was at the ribbon cutting on this one, was our Project Braze. This is about a $500 million project that was completed over several decades in partnership between Harris County and SWG and the Corps of Engineers on that. It was a major initiative in one of our most heavily developed watersheds, and it also serves the Texas Medical Center, which is a vital economic engine for us. We're currently working on our Clear Creek Federal Project. Again, a Corps of Engineers partnership project. We hope to go to design on this project in about mid-next year on that. We're in the analysis phase and updating the old H&H and the old GRR on that. It's about a $300 million project. We're also working with the Corps on the Buffalo Bayou and Tributaries Resiliency Study. Major study during Hurricane Harvey. This is one of our more heavily impacted watersheds where we received both upstream and downstream of the reservoir's damages on that. And that project, we hope to turn over our work to the Corps on December 31st. And sorry, Colonel, I said the word hope. It will be turned over on December 31st on that. So there's no hope in there. And then the Corps will restart their portion of the study. On Buffalo and Bayou and tributaries, this is very unique. One of the options that we're looking at is a tunnel. You saw that alignment also on our previous tunnel slide. But what we're finding is this particular area has different influence zones. We have an influence zone upstream of the reservoirs. We have the upper Buffalo influence zone, and then we have the lower Buffalo influence zone. And what we're looking at on our tunnel alternative is the ability to be very, very flexible with the operation of these tunnels and where we can draw water off of the watershed based upon where the rainfall event is occurring. If the rainfall event is upstream of the reservoirs, then the tunnel can dedicate its entire flow to the reservoirs. If it's downstream of the reservoirs, then we can target that flow for the more environmentally justice disadvantaged area of the community and provide tremendous amounts of benefits. But it goes back to the whole concept of tunnels providing a lot of flexibility in our operations. We also, when we're looking at this study, we're looking at a few resiliency metrics that we are seeing. We're looking at the possibility of up to a 7-fold improvement on the non-damaging discharge rate from the reservoirs. We're looking at a 2-fold improvement in the emergency discharge rate and up to a 7-fold improvement on the reservoir drawdown time. And this would also provide a lot of operational resiliency on that. We're working hard with the Corps of Engineers on this, and we'll turn over our work at the end of this year so they can continue their portion of the study. One of the major initiatives that we've had going on with FEMA is our Map Next update. This was a federally funded project by FEMA where we are taking the lead on updating the floodplain maps for the entire Harris County with the new Atlas 14 rainfall and with a 1D, 2D model on that. What we're finding is basically the current 500-year floodplain within 5-10% is going to be the new 100-year floodplain. It's going to be a major shift in the way we look at flood risk reduction, and we are able to have the best understanding that we've ever had of flooding in Harris County based upon these MapNext models. The models have been submitted to FEMA for their approval. We were hoping they were going to be published at the end of this year for comment, but it may be the end of this year, but probably more likely the first quarter of next year on that. And these MapNext models are also going to be our base models for future watershed assessments and future planning. You can see the FEMA-affected floodplains. The dark blue is the floodways. The lighter blue are the 500-year, and then the greenish is the 100-year. So you can see that, translate 500 for 100, and you'll see what the effect will be. I talked about the timeline, so I'm going to skip that slide. And we do have a section on our website called Work With Us, and we publish all our upcoming bid opportunities, all our upcoming RFQ opportunities. We'll also be putting all our CDBG opportunities on this website prior to our September 7th Industry Day. And I think the only other thing I have is buy flood insurance. We have a tremendous outreach program for flood insurance, and still less than 25% of the residents of Harris County have flood insurance. And that's a number that we strive to get up, but it's amazing how hard it is. So we always have to end every slide with buy flood insurance. And that is it.